Well, guys, GB News did a little talk recently with Rishi Sunak where audience members actually got to ask him questions. And to my shock, they actually let someone injured by the jab on there to pull up this ponce about it. This in itself would be news enough, but it ended up being two guys calling out this scumbag before the GB News Wankstein showed us all that just the BBC 2.0. So let's see it.
My name is John Watt, and I'm one of the COVID vaccine injured in this country. I want you to look into my eyes, Rishi Sunak, and I want you to look at the pain, the trauma and the regret I have in my eyes. We have been left with no help at all. Not only am I in here that's vaccine injured, there's another man over there whose life's been ruined by that COVID-19 vaccine. I know people who have lost legs, amputations. I know people with heart conditions like myself, Rishi Sunak. Why have I had to set up a support group in Scotland to look after the people that have been affected by that COVID-19 vaccine? Why are the people who are in charge, who told us all to do the right thing, have left us all to rot and left me and the thousands and the tens of thousands in this country to rot? Rishi Sunak, look me in the eye. When are you going to start to do the right thing? The vaccine damage payment scheme is not fit for purpose. In Scotland right now, according to the yellow card system, there are over 30,000 people that have had an adverse reaction to that vaccine and 200 deaths.
John, thank you very much indeed for your question.
It's time for you to start doing the right thing, Mr. Rishi Sunak, and the rest.
You've made a really strong point, John.
Yeah, that was something I didn't have on my bingo card for today, and while I would rather he remained calm during it, I think we can all understand why he's a bit upset, especially given the effects it's had on him. Shit, he even speaks of the regret he now feels after taking it, which is not something you often hear, while absolutely none of us who refuse to take it regret our decision, you can be bloody sure.
Pandemic.
He then goes on to point out with force how the same people who duped him into taking the jab have left him out to dry, which I've got to be honest doesn't surprise me and likely doesn't you lot. Shit, they shot down anyone trying to bring attention to adverse effects and all of that, so them being ignored is not exactly going to be news to us. But did you hear the GB News host shut down the guy when he started to bring the facts and figures into it, proving they're just the BBC in red, white and blue trim?
When are you going to start to do the right thing? The vaccine damage payment scheme is not fit for purpose. In Scotland right now, according to the yellow card system, there are over 30,000 people that have had an adverse reaction to that vaccine and 200 deaths.
John, thank you very much indeed for your question.
It's time for you to start doing the right thing, Mr. Rishi Sunak, and the rest.
Yeah, GB News, a mainstream media scum through and through, but this one here was just the warm-up. Now it's Rishi Sunak's turn to respond, and it doesn't go well, so watch this.
Prime Minister.
Yeah, John, well, I'm very sorry to hear about your personal circumstances, and you said someone over here also seems to have suffered by a similar thing. Now, obviously, I don't know about the individual situation that you're in.
We're silenced.
Well,
on social media and everything.
Okay.
We are silenced. We are the most silenced people in this country.
Silence in the press because my story in the press had to go to the government for comment, and they made the take all the stuff out.
Forgive me both.
I know, I'm happy. No one.
Okay.
John, no one is saying.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I've lost my house, my wife, and a successful career.
And, sir, you raised some very valid points, I'm sure. What I've got to say is, though, we haven't got you on microphone, and, as you know, we've got to get through this. I'm sure we can raise your points with the Prime Minister at a later date.
Well, as expected, he gave a mealy-mouthed bullshit answer, being the gangrene-infested, pus-dripping monkeypox spot on a baboon's arsehole that he is, which made audience members pipe up to call out his bullshit and the government censorship of stories about their injuries. This, it seems, caused the GB News scumbag to completely shit the bed, as you see him pretty much run from the sidelines to shut down the conversation and say they'll get an answer from the PM at a later date.
Yeah, okay.
I've lost my house, my wife, and a successful career.
And, sir, you raised some very valid points, I'm sure. What I've got to say is, though, we haven't got you on microphone, and, as you know, we've got to get through this. I'm sure we can raise your points with the Prime Minister at a later date.
This, if you ask me, is by far the most heinous thing about all this, because we expect politicians to cover their own arse. But seeing the so-called independent moderators running damage control for them speaks volumes to me, and I bet it does to many of you.
I'm sure we can raise your points with the Prime Minister at a later date.
Obviously, getting him at a later date makes getting Rishi Sunak on here to speak to people completely pointless and actually shows GB News to be the puppets of the state that they are.
Wankers!
Pandemic.
Where